It was a complete disaster. I booked Victoria's Secret for catalog. It was like a huge moment for me. But when I got on set, I was so insecure. I was so unsure and couldn't process the fact that I even got this job. During the shoot, I couldn't connect. Like the camera, like nothing really worked. The creative director came up to me. She's like, okay, you guys, you know what? I gotta tell you that I thought that working from home will be a much more preferable option because I wanted the podcast and the episodes to feel like I'm just sitting and chatting with you. But I gotta tell you, there are mornings I wake up and there's 10 people in the house and the mowers come and all the things are happening all at once. And I'm like, this is good. I made this choice, okay? So there's no one else to blame. Well, welcome to Not Alone. I am so excited to sit down. Today's a very personal episode that I wanted to do and just sit down and chat with you to do a little life update because I gotta say, your girl has been working overtime on her emotional state. As you guys know, my favorite part of the podcast is the ability to open up and kind of go deeper into what I'm going through with this amazing community. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. Now, listen, I'm going to start and preface this conversation by reminding you that I did a whole episode talking about how I haven't really been with the whole therapy thing. I've tried therapy a couple of times and it just felt like there was a major disconnect. First of all, the practitioner itself, I think that it's very important to find somebody that you can really connect to, but also I think the time in your life. I've also always prided myself, is that a word? I think so. Prided myself in the ability to analyze and, lack of a better word, intellectualize a lot of the emotions that I feel. Kind of made a decision that that is enough for me and my toolkit to kind of go through life. And something happened to me as my birthday was coming up. We're already now past my birthday. I'm officially 35 years old. This is insane. But wait, I'm going to get to that after. So as I was approaching my birthday, I've realized that I think it's time to get a little more help in terms of teaching myself certain techniques and maybe things that I haven't really been able to open up to. It was time because with Not Alone, and Not Alone was a huge part of this realization, I had the opportunity to sit down with so many women, and specifically older women that have gone through more seasons in life. And I got to tell you that I understood that starting to get into this 35, 36, 37 is going to be a whole new revolution coming for me. And I had to be honest with myself and realize that I don't think I'll be able to handle it on my own with what I know how to do until now. Like all the things and all my coping mechanisms that I do won't serve me and won't let me kind of reach this like next evolution or like next phase of Valeria. Does that make sense? I can't explain it. It was just a feeling. And if I can say anything about myself is that I am very honest with myself. Sometimes it's actually a negative thing. Like I have to be a little bit more delulu, but that's something that I just knew that I needed to dive into. So I've been kind of sitting around thinking, okay, what is it going to be? What's going to be the thing that gives me an opportunity to unlock new ways and new tools? And as much as I had resistance to therapy, I've realized that it is time to revisit it. I'll tell you why I have resistance to therapy. From my previous experiences, I've felt that the sessions felt very like too validating. It's the weirdest thing, which by the way, I have the same issue with my ChatGPT. I don't like to be sitting and talking to someone and getting this really, understanding nod and kind of this and ahs and just the repetition of like, you're valid to feel these emotions. You're valid to like all of that. I don't know. This kind of psychology doesn't work on me. Maybe it's my upbringing. Maybe it's my background. But I just kind of needed somebody to be a bit more like let it out. This is a safe space, but not cuddle me, if that makes sense. Maybe that's another trauma I need to look into. But that was my problem with my previous experiences. So this time, I spoke to a dear friend of mine, someone who I find to be extremely enlightened and raw with her emotions. She's also a little bit older than me. And I asked her if she does therapy. And she said yes. And she gave me the contact to her therapist. And it was the weirdest thing because I think for the first time, went to this appointment very open-minded. And as much as I'm sitting here and being like, oh, before I was very validated and it was really annoying, that was me also being close-minded and having my own resistance. So this time I went in being like, listen, I know that I need another outlet. I know that I need another environment that's my own with someone that is not part of my life, that is not a friend, that is not, Gary, that is not someone that is involved and a participant in my life, that can just be a place where I can unload everything. Because there's quite a bit going on in my life and I need to outsource that. So I went in and it was a really humbling session where of course we went back to childhood because this is where we at. This is how it works. You kind of give little snippets of what you think your childhood was, because again, this is all from my perspective, and any issues that I kind of had coming in or anything that kind of sat on my chest, and I just let it out. It had no format. There was really no structure. It was a kind of free flowing type of meeting that we had. I cried, of course, but I also expected to cry. And it's just, I feel like the environment and they set the tone for it. So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's do it right. Let's get some tears going. It felt really, really nice. I left that first appointment feeling like I'm exactly where I need to be and doing exactly what I need to do, which also reinforced this idea that I always believed in, that you have to go back to certain things a few times at different points in your life because sometimes you're just not at the right place to receive them. I feel like that was the case with me, with my prior experience. So this time it was really like the right place, the right time, the right person. I was just really able to let it out. I walked into the second session feeling this urge to really get into solution mode when it comes to the way I cope with things. And I had an opportunity to unravel a lot of really interesting but tiny little behaviors that I always deemed as superpowers that are actually not serving me anymore. And I'm going to share it with you because me, I always talk about the fact that I don't share things that I still process with the world because they're still very raw and I need to kind of get through them by myself. But with this specific thing, I want to share it with you real time because I didn't realize it was such a problem until it became a problem. So I walked into therapy not because I needed to solve any big childhood traumas or something. Like it wasn't like a big, alarm or any big issue that I needed to solve. My need was bringing more joy into my life and the ability to be open to that joy. And I spoke about it before where, growing up in the background that I'm from and a lot of other people around me, we're operating on survival mode. And that served me so well for so many years. But I would say that in the few recent years, it became a problem. I started feeling very ungrateful because it didn't make sense to me that I'm operating on survival mode while living this abundant, beautiful life. And I started to feel bad about it. So I wanted to figure out a way to move away from surviving and kind of leaning into thriving. And I thought that just acknowledging that will help me kind of switch into that mode. But of course, that doesn't work. There's a lot of systems that you have to undo and kind of reprogram in your brain in order to start operating in that way. So when I walked into the session, I was like, listen, I want to learn how to accept joy. I want to feel fully, which is something that I don't think I've ever did really, because I am a pro disassociator. It's both something that benefited me a lot in my life, but I also see now, especially, mothering children and just looking around, I also know that I'm not fully in the emotions and living this life because I'm kind of always a bystander watching from the outside. And I need to understand why I do that. And of course, we go back to childhood. And I've also realized that to me, emotion mean chaos. And, we talk a lot about, especially in the past couple of years, we talk a lot about like childhood traumas and all that stuff. And all of that is real, but I don't want to associate it with my mother or with who raised me because they did the best they could. So this is more of this opportunity to kind of remother myself in ways that I didn't, get when I was a child. So it's more me stepping out to the plate as an adult to take care of, the foundation that all of this was built on. This episode is sponsored by Furtuna Skin. Furtuna, for those of you who don't know, is an Italian skincare brand creating olive oil-based products that are bioscience-backed. Their wild botanicals include some of the highest antioxidant levels and nutrients. They're using regenerative farming processes on La Fortuna farm in Sicily that ensures that every stage the plant potency is protected, which then creates products that are pure, potent, and transformative. You know me, and I love to give a special shout out to the products that made a difference for me. So their eye revitalizing cream, it is a go-to for that instantly refreshing tired eyes. The cream is packed with Fortuna's Skin signature olive oil and 14 wild forage plants. It lifts, hydrates, and helped reduce the look of puffiness and dark circles, which makes me look brighter and more awake. Pure, potent, transformative, that's Furtuna Skin. For our Not Alone listeners, they are offering 20% off your first purchase. Try their wildly potent skincare products for yourself at furtunaskin.com. That's FURTUNASKIN.com and use my code Valeria20 at checkout. You're not gonna regret this one. So I sat there in my second session having this insane realization that the reason why I can't feel joy is because I don't trust emotions. To me, emotions equate chaos. And I don't think I've ever seen an emotional and high-functioning person. And I don't know how many of us had that. I don't think any of my close friends had an example like that. So to me, being emotional means being frazzled and being irrational and being just kind of a leaf in the wind. And of course, a way for me to handle it is to step away from that emotional space, disassociate, and then handle things with rationality. And that made so much sense, but also made me sad because I've realized that there were so many moments that I don't remember in my life because I didn't feel them. Emotions create memories. So throughout my life, there are these big gaps where I don't remember certain people or big events or certain things that happened because I was not there really. So as you can tell, 2 sessions in, I'm reevaluating my life, but in the best way possible. Again, this is by no means taking me to a place of I should have been raised differently or things should have been differently. It not at all coming from a place of blame or anger. It's coming from a place of knowledge and empowerment and the realization that I want to be a different version. And I actually want to be the emotional and high functioning example that I didn't see in my life for my kids, for myself, honestly, other women, because I also have this platform. And again, I'm so curious, which is also going to be a question I'm going to be asking a lot of people that I'm going to be meeting these days of, did you have that example in your life of somebody that could self-soothe and regulate without disassociation? That's such a foreign concept to me. I was raised in a survival household, and to no one's fault. The fact that my mother went through what she went through while raising also myself and then my little brother is mind-blowing to me. She's a superhuman in my opinion. But that is the blueprint of life for me, survival. And at some point, I had to wake up to the fact that I'm living this beautiful, abundant life walking around in survival mode. There was a huge disconnection for me. I needed to understand why it made me angry with myself that I can't lean into that abundance. I can't accept that beauty that's around me because I felt the need to constantly feel like something's bad's gonna happen or I need to protect myself from something. And I was done with it. It didn't make sense to me. I was ready for, and I am ready for this next phase of sitting with all of this and starting to operate from a place of thriving. That was the missing link for me. I'm ready to embrace joy, and I never knew that I needed to say these words out loud in order to get the ball rolling. We always assume that it's something that we just naturally accept and want in our life, and that was a huge aha moment for me. So I am now on this new path, on this new journey of finding out, can I be emotional and stable? Can I be emotional and high functioning? Can I be emotional and grounded? I don't have the answer for that yet, but I will keep you posted. Wish me luck. Okay, so I'll leave the therapy at that because I don't have any concrete answers yet, but I will definitely keep you posted. I want these solos to be truly a moment for us to connect, and I'm gonna start involving you guys more with the questions. Actually, yesterday posted on IG a question box because I want you to ask me anything, because it's one thing to answer these questions on Instagram where it doesn't really give you an opportunity to connect and expand. It's a different way to connect when I can really dive into it and you hear my voice and tone and sarcasm if needed, you know? So let's dive into some of these questions. So question is, how do you find the confidence to be so open online? I think the biggest opener for me was accepting this idea that I can be wrong and I can change my mind. Something that I was really stuck on with social media in the beginning when I started sharing my views, my ideas, and just my life in general, right? You put it out there, it's open for judgment at all times. I was really scared of criticism, and people would write back and being like, you're such a hypocrite, you said this, then you did this. And I took it as something negative. And it took me a long time to realize that being a human, first of all, is complex. We are walking contradictions, whether you like it or not, okay? And I also needed to accept the idea that I don't want to be the same person forever. I want to be changing. I want to contradict myself. I understand and know my values and fundamentals, but everything else is open to interpretation. I had to accept the fact that I'm a very curious person and I don't know it all. And I don't think I'll ever know it all. People come to me to hear how I see the world, and that is my only obligation, to share that. And once I really lean into that mindset, it stopped feeling like criticism. It stopped feeling like an attack. It just made me be less guarded, less critical of myself and the world. Because I'm just walking out here these days being like, this is a video game, honestly. Like, everyone's opinion is their own opinions. Everyone has their point of views. Everyone experiencing the world through their own eyes. And every day it changes. So that's the fun part, right? This is what brings the color into, our day to day. So that's really what helped me to open up more and really feel comfortable with what I say and how I say it. And I mentioned before a couple of times how I really want to work on not being so cautious online. And that's also part kind of my evolution, both publicly but also personally, although I feel like personally I'm not cautious at all. But publicly, I want to bring the raw version of myself more. And I think that it also comes with time. I sometimes look at these young creators that are out there and they're just showing up with very controversial views and opinions and takes. And some of it is very authentic and real, and some of it is performative. And I can spot that because I've been part of this world for a while, but I want to make sure that I never get to a point where I'm just saying things to trigger people, and I can stand behind those things, yet know that I might be wrong. This is a continuous kind of a project. So that's where we're at now. Someone asked, what are you enjoying most about Miami? And I want to answer this question because I think that for a lot of people, Miami is this beautiful, fun, colorful city, which it is. But the impact it had on my life has been one of the biggest gifts that I've ever experienced. I think a lot of these unfoldings and a lot of the idea of joy came to me because I was in this environment. I mentioned it before, but back in Toronto, I was with my head down and just working, and building. And it's not that it was wrong. It was kind of that phase of my life, but I did feel like a big chunk of it was missing. I wasn't able to enjoy the fruits of my labor and just my evolution as a whole. So when we moved here, I started witnessing, because I got to see in order to believe. I started witnessing people living with this mindset of, again, abundance, of mindset that you can kind of have it all, and seeing people working hard, but also being so open. Again, I think that the cultural aspect of Miami with, Latin Americans being, that culture is so present here. Seeing people so open to emotion and friendships and connection. It was so overwhelming to me that the first year I was so cynical about it. I was like, something is off. People are really fake. But I've realized that I'm the blocker here, that I am the one that wasn't open to seeing the possibilities of being that person. And that's, I think, when the question started popping up, am I living the way I want to live? What is missing in my life? Joy. Why is joy missing? How does joy look like? What does it feel like? And I started seeing so much of it around me that I had no other choice but to dig within to find those answers. And then I ended up in therapy, and here we are. What do you enjoy most about Miami is just really the fact that it cracked me open, truly. I think that it's very special. And, I had this really interesting conversation with my girlfriends the other day where we were gossiping about some celebrity who's dating a young model or something. I don't know. Yes, we gossip, okay? I know that smart people don't talk about people, but I feel like gossip is healthy for, here and there. Anyway, so we were talking about it, and we're saying how, men are really attracted to that like maiden phase and to the maiden kind of character, right? In a woman, someone that takes care of them and all that things. And, as women get older, we're kind of leaving that maiden phase and evolve into another phase. We were just laughing about the fact that we all had that maiden phase. I remember when I got married, and I mean, obviously we have a big age difference. I was totally in that era. And we're just kind of sitting and reminiscing and not villainizing it, and just realizing how this is just such a beautiful like phase of life, in your 20s or in your when you just get married and you're just really leaning into taking care of your man and your home, and there's a time and place for it. But then it ends, and it's kind of the next stage and the next stage. And I think that a lot of the blockers that happen for women is we don't let those seasons to be seasons, and when they end, we kind of feel like something is wrong because we don't want the same things we wanted before. But it's such part of that evolution. And I was just, I don't know, just reminiscing about my trophy wife. I call it trophy wife, maiden, whatever you want to call it, days. It was a wonderful time. And I don't want to go back there because, I did the most there and I'm in this phase. And I don't know how we got to this conversation, but I just wanted to share it with you. I'm going to pinpoint kind of the categories for each season because that's how my brain works. I need a description. I need a name to the phase. But the maiden is very accurate. I like that one. Oh, I know why we also start talking about it because Harvey Leger bandage dresses are back. So that also brought me back to those days. Just saying. I love this question. What's something you used to believe strongly that you've completely changed your mind about? Oh my God. So many things. And I think it goes back to the fact that I became okay with being wrong, but I really learn new things all the time. And this need that I have to meet people and hear their opinions and views on the world and be open to change my mind has been a huge gift to my life. I can't even pinpoint it. I think there's so many things changed. So many things changed for me. Maybe I'll do a whole episode about that. French fries or poutine? Ugh, French fries, are you joking me? Anything where you give me like a choice of eggs and French fries, it would be French fries. I'm just putting it out there. How do you navigate pressure to always be on creatively? I gotta tell you, it's a muscle. I think that we look at creativity as this magic kind of thing that happens out of nowhere. But I truly realized that creativity has a formula. And the formula is consistency, it's rest, like unplugging. You need to make sure that you are not constantly consuming things, conversation, people, information. You need to have space to just not do anything and not think. But the act of creating is extremely important to upkeep the creativity going because it is like a wave, but it strikes you when you are in motion. You know what I mean? Does that contradict itself? Because I'm saying you also need to rest. When I say rest, I mean unplug from the world. That, I guess, for me is where I reset. I look at the world at this point from the lens of creativity. Like every moment, every conversation, everything that I do gives me material because I trained this muscle to see those opportunities. So it doesn't feel like I'm on. It's just kind of my existence at this point because I've been consistent with it. So it really became the way I just move in the world. So it's less of pressure and more, it's less pressure. It used to be a lot of pressure. I think for me, the pressure comes of creative on demand. That I can't. So that's when the pressure comes. But again, I've kind of trained my brain to learn how to navigate that. I don't know if I answered this question, actually. I'm going to sit with that one. Have any of your past failures kept you from trying something new? I think the biggest failure that ever made me stop chasing something was when I got the Victoria's Secret gig as a model. I actually was already engaged. I booked Victoria's Secret for catalog. It was like a huge moment for me. It was a complete disaster. Crushed my, sliver of confidence that I had at that age. That's when I was like, this is not for me. I don't want to do this anymore. But that was the only time that something happened that kind of stopped me from pursuing something. But it really felt like a redirection. Everything else, any other failures, which there were many, and there's still going to be many, never stopped me from doing anything because I know I'm on the right path. I know that I am doing what I absolutely love and what I'm really good at. So when that failure happens, it's more of asking questions of maybe I knocked on the wrong door, maybe it's not the right timing, but it doesn't stop me from pursuing it. It just gives me an opportunity to go at it from a different angle. I was 20. I booked Victoria's Secrets, and this is after being in the industry for about a decade. And I was a working model and I was making good money, but it wasn't a supermodel. So Victoria's Secret was really like a huge moment for me. And I remember when I went back to Toronto, we went out, we celebrated the fact that I booked that job. And when I walked into the set, I was shooting that day with two really big names. It was a really surreal moment for me. I could see how my future would change after this shoot. But when I got on set and I was so insecure, I was so unsure and couldn't process the fact that I even got this job. You know, when you stand there and you're just like, I don't deserve to be here. Why am I here? Worst feeling ever. And of course, when you put that energy out there, it manifests itself. So during the shoot, I couldn't connect. Like the camera, like nothing really worked. The creative director came up to me. She's like, okay, well, thank you so much. You know, you can go home now. And it was literally after shooting one product. So for me, I was like, okay, I completely bombed this. And it was a terrible experience. I remember coming back home and I just cried in bed. Like Gary was holding me. I was crying in bed for like a week. And then I was like, okay, this is what I needed to close the chapter on modeling. I am ready for this next phase of life where I can maybe start building some confidence and some understanding of who I am, so I will never feel the way I felt on that set. I think when you do quit on something, it's because you truly believe it's just not what you need to do. Or at least that's the relationship I have with myself. Like when we decided to even close the clothing brand, right? Like to me, I just knew that it's a redirection back to media because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I'm good at. So no failure kept me from trying something new, except for that modeling thing. I feel like I kind of closed the door on the modeling world after that. But if you think about it, it kind of led me to do fashion on social media. So no, the answer is no past failures kept me from trying anything new because the world keeps spinning and you move on and you just pick up new things. I'm telling you guys, it's a game. Life is not that serious. Okay, I do see a question about the kids here, but I want to share a very interesting experience that I've had. And I feel like the mothers that are listening to this will find it shocking as much, I hope so, as much as I did. I don't know. But when the kids were at camp, Benjamin injured himself or got sick. I don't know. He had some ear infection. Anyways, the camp called Gary and not me. And I know it's like a little thing, but it's a big thing because how many mothers can say that they weren't the first contact, like the first call that school or anyone else makes? They always call the moms. And I just remember when I came home and Gary's like, yeah, the camp called Benjamin has like an ear infection or something. I'm in touch with the doctor, blah, 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 and just took care of it. And I was not involved. And I just sat there being like, wow, that could happen? Where things are just being taken care of with the kids. Like the dad can do it and the mom doesn't have to be. It's something crazy. Like to me, it was a... So I don't know if anyone else ever experienced that, but to me, it was the first time that that happened. Usually, they will call Gary if they can't reach me, but they usually always reach me. I still need to investigate it. Like, did I not give my phone number? Like, what happened there? Maybe because it's Canada, they're like, let's call I don't know. I need answers. But that was a great experience. So I just wanted to share it out there. I feel like the change is happening as we speak. I think the world is catching up with the mental load that mothers carry. It's starting to spread evenly to both parents. Can you believe? I'm here for this revolution. Okay, I gotta be honest with you. I've been thinking about ways to incorporate books. You know, I'm an avid reader and I've been through my seasons of like having a book club on Instagram and all these things. But honestly, the upkeep is just, I can't. I've been thinking, how do I share the books that I love? When I have guests over, I always ask them what books changed their lives or something they read that really impacted them. And I decided that now with the solos, I'm gonna end with like a little bookend situation where I share a couple of books that I absolutely loved. So let's just get into it. I hope you're going to love it and I hope it's going to feed the reader's need for some recommendations from me. So I picked up this book, The Many Lives of Mama Love by Lara Love Harding. And this was an amazing book. It's actually a memoir and it's about a woman that became an addict, a drug addict, and she is like this, you know, dedicated mother, just wrong place, wrong time, wrong partner that kind of got her into this whole mess. And, you know, whenever we think about addiction, for those who haven't seen it around in their own families or their lives, you don't really understand the impact it has on a person's life. And she just has such a beautiful way to share this like raw experience that she had. This is like a suburban mother with 3 kids, right? Any one of us can relate to kind of that point in her life and the role she was playing. And then kind of reading how her life completely derailed. She went to jail, and then it was coming out of jail and trying to just bring her life back on track. You see the gaps in the system. And I just learned a lot about humility, about grace, the grace that she gave herself. Her story is insane. She ended up becoming a writer and co-wrote a book, or was a ghostwriter for like some super high name, big name people. So overall, just blew my mind, and I cried and I laughed, and it felt very comforting, and just reminding you of how life can just take you to so many different directions, and there's a lot of healing involved in it. So I feel like even if you didn't have any experience or understanding of the topic of self-love, forgiveness, motherhood, sacrifice, this will really like hit the spot, I promise. So this one, definitely 10 out of 10. Been recommending it to quite a lot of people. I picked up also God Wears Lipstick, a Kabbalah book by Karen Berg. And I gotta say, I've become a little bit curious about Kabbalah. It's very much as a spiritual kind of teaching. I'm still trying to get into it, but I've been recommended this book probably by every like 5th person that I meet. I think that right now we're in this Kabbalah wave. So I'll keep you posted on that one. And then the last book that I want to mention is The Art of Thinking Clearly. That one is actually, I download as an audiobook, and I just loved the clarity it gave me on a lot of biases and the way we kind of break down information and what we hear when we hear certain things. And you'll be surprised to listen to this and then catch yourself leaning towards different conclusions throughout the day, which is based on these biases. So overall, just like an interesting book to listen to while you're driving or doing, I don't know, cleaning the house or whatever it is, walking. And I would say though, those books have been kind of on my mind lately. Let me know what you've been reading. If you have any suggestions, please tell me. I know that I was on a kick of fantasy books, but I'm sorry, not a genre I can get behind. So I apologize for my ignorance and inability to be part of that world, but I am who I am, okay? But open to change. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I want to hear more from you. Let me know if you like this structure of the solo pods. I want to make them more about us, you and me. So let me know about you and me, because that's really what matters here. Okay, I love you. Have a wonderful day, and we're out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't miss my newest episode right here. And if you're listening to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, please go and leave a review with your biggest takeaway. I love reading your thoughts. They inspire me. So if you have any suggestions for guests or topics, you can leave them in the comment section. And always remember, you are not alone.